Hey, so I need to get a new laptop, and it's gonna be a Windows laptop, Windows/Linux. And I have a couple of reasons for doing this. I'm mostly a Mac user. If you've been watching any of my videos, I have a few Apple products in this house. That's what I do my work on because I require Xcode for building mobile applications. That's been the primary driver of why I switched to Apple from Windows after being a longtime Windows user. But all this time, I've been suffering because I still do .NET development. And .NET, while yes, you can do it on a Mac, it's not as fun. Let's just say that Visual Studio, the proper Visual Studio, it's a really good tool. And Microsoft has done an incredible job developing it and improving it, and it works on Windows only. There is Visual Studio for Mac, but it's getting there. Maybe after a few more years, maybe 10 years. I put out a poll on my channel to see what laptop I should get now that it's 2022, and Intel has the new 12th generation chip, so I definitely want that. I'll get into the specs that I want for a programming laptop specifically in just a little bit, but here are your responses to my community post, and there's all sorts of wild responses here. There are a few gaming machines there, and gaming machines are fine, but I wanted this to be a business-oriented machine, and I already have a gaming laptop. You can't really see it, it's out of focus. It's this one, it's an Asus, and you've seen my reviews of this one before. And I've created a summary of some of the laptops, most of the laptops that you requested. And what I found out is the very popular ones were Lenovo, MSI, Dell, and Razer Blade. Only one HP vote, interesting. If I add up all the Dells on there, the Dell XPS 13, 17, and 15, they win. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually start off with a Dell. So that's not to say that I'm not gonna get other machines in here, but that brings me to another reason why I wanted a new machine, and that's to do more tests. So this new machine is gonna be a developer-focused machine. I'm gonna pick it out as if I was buying a machine for myself from a developer's perspective. Now, you can write code on pretty much any laptop. Your productivity, though, of course, will improve if the machine is powerful. And that's why you've been watching a lot of my videos showing the powerful machines doing their work. And of course, there's different types of developers out there doing different types of development. I just want to talk to you about what I do and why am I picking what I'm picking. I do a few different things. I do mobile development, so I need Xcode. I need Android Studio. I do a lot of JavaScript-based work, so I need to be able to run Node. Not a big problem. A lot of web development as well. I do .NET, and yes, I've tried this on a Mac. It works. Been using virtual machines for a long time now on a Mac. You're running Windows, running Visual Studio inside of those. It's become a lot harder to do that now that I switched to Apple Silicon. This is actually one of the main reasons why I'm getting a Windows laptop. But also, I want to get a machine that I can test against the MacBooks that I already have. So that's my second reason. Now, let's go to Dell, and I want to see what they have. Let's go to laptops for home or for business. Let's go for home. And I want to see all the 12th gen machines. I'm going to only limit this to the XPS series. I was pretty impressed with the XPS 13 that I tried last year with an i7. It was an Evo machine. And I think it would make a really good developer machine last year. Now this year, they've changed a few things around, especially with that XPS 13 Plus. I am curious about that. I don't know if that's gonna fit the bill, but we'll find out in a moment. And here we've got all the different XPS machines that they're currently offering for me in my area. And I noticed that some of these have the Intel Evo label, but not all of them. Let's go over some of the specs that I think are gonna be important in a developer-focused machine right now in 2022. Number one is the screen. The screen should be at least 1080p. If you go smaller than that, it's just not going to be good. Even on a 13-inch screen, smaller than 1080p is going to be noticeable. It's going to be pixelated. It's just going to be ugly. 4K is another option. Now, I've had 4K screens before, and they look great. But because it's a laptop, you don't really need a 4K screen. And 4K screens take up more battery juice. So it's going to drain your battery faster. So I think 1080 is actually that sweet spot. So I'm gonna try to get a 1080p computer or a 4K computer, but preferably a 1080. It depends on some of the other features that are gonna be a little bit more important. What I'm talking about is the CPU, of course. I want it to be a 12th gen CPU. I want a i9, a Core i9 CPU. So here we've got a couple of new XPS 15s. Core i7, i5, i7, and here's an i9 HK. I want an i9 because I want to get the most powerful chip there is right now that Intel has to offer in a laptop, and that's what it is. Now, going back to the screen for a second, there is the OLED options that some monitors might have. The MacBooks, the new MacBooks have OLED, and it's a beautiful screen, yes, but I don't think it's super necessary. I do look at my screen for a long time, but even the MacBook that I first got in 2013 had a great screen in it. That was a Retina display. It was not OLED. It was not mini LED, but it was still great enough that I could stare at it for 8 hours a day and it was just fine. And even some of the Windows machines from today still have pretty bad monitors. So when it comes to PC market, perhaps you should pay attention to whether it's OLED or mini LED. It's not such a huge deal to me though, because I'm not going to be sitting at my machine for probably more than 2 hours at a time anyway. On my list, the next most important thing is the RAM. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Right now in 2022, 16 gigabytes for development is the minimum that you should consider doing. Yes, you could get away with 8 gigabytes for lighter tasks, and if you're doing maybe some front-end web development and you're working on one task at a time. But even then, you're probably using Visual Studio Code. And Visual Studio Code runs on ELECTRON, which is just a memory hog. And then you might be even running Chrome instances in the background, which are also gonna hog your memory, so you really want more memory. 16, I would say, is the minimum. 32 is recommended. I have 64 gigs on my machine, but that's because I'm doing a little bit too much with my machines. I'm doing video editing, I'm doing virtual machines, so I really appreciate the extra RAM. I use it all, especially when I have Adobe running in the background. So I'm gonna be looking for 16 gigabytes, and if it happens to be 32, then fine. But I don't think I'm gonna kick it up to 64 because I don't think that's necessary for what I'm gonna be doing with this Windows machine. Next is the GPU. And this is gonna be important for me because I wanna be doing machine learning tasks on this machine. So far, I've been doing my machine learning tasks on my Asus, but that machine is, let's just say, it's not very comfortable for me to use it. So I can get into that in another video, not this one, but let me know in the comments if you wanna see that. And by the way, the comments are down there right next to the like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing for more content like this and all the tests that I'm going to be doing with this new machine. Now, the GPU that I want to get is going to be an NVIDIA RTX based machine. Some of the software, some of the machine learning software has optimizations for that particular chipset. So that's why I want to get an RTX machine. A 3080 would be ideal. If 3080 is not available, I'll go for a 3070. I doubt that I'll find a 3090 around, but we'll see. Then as far as internal hardware goes, the SSD is important too. You could get external SSDs, but you're really limited then by the bandwidth of your buses. If you have Thunderbolt connection or USB connection, you're going to be limited to that as opposed to having everything inside on the SSD. So if you get, for example, a 512 gigabyte SSD, you're going to fill that up pretty quickly. I recommend now these days, with all the media that you're going to keep on your machine, 1 terabyte. Of course, if you're strictly using it as your development only machine and nothing else, you're not using it as a personal machine for media or videos or anything like that, yeah, you could probably get away with 512. For me, I need 1 terabyte at least, 2 terabytes preferable, and I can fill that up pretty easily. Now, next is the keyboard. You're going to be spending a lot of time typing away in your code editor, so you're going to need a good keyboard. And the way I use my laptop is sometimes I'm on the couch or at a coffee shop, in which case I'm using the laptop on board. So that should be a good keyboard. And in my case, at this point, I'm pretty used to the MacBook keyboard, and it's a really great keyboard. I love it. My fingers just get used to it. And because of that, when I do come home and I use the MacBook in a clamshell mode, or now that I have the Mac Studio in the house as well, I'd like to extend that same feel of a keyboard so that my muscle memory doesn't slow me down, and I just end up using an Apple keyboard that has the exact same or pretty close to the exact same feel as the keyboard that comes with the laptop. So I know that doesn't help me when it comes to picking out a new PC laptop, but I'm just telling you my perspective on it and how I choose my keyboard. So I'm going to be working from there. Now I know that some folks really love their mechanical keyboards. I had one in here last year, which I gave away on the channel, and I do have another one here waiting to make a video on, which I'll probably just give away to you guys as well. I'm a mechanical keyboard kind of guy. So I do give it a try though. We'll see what these Dell XPSs offer as far as keyboard. I'm sure that the keyboard on them is already set, and you probably can't have an option in choosing a new one. So we'll see. The next thing is the battery. Now, I want the battery to be at least 8 hours long. Why 8 hours? Because if it says 8 hours, it's probably gonna last 6 hours. And if it says 10 hours, it's probably gonna last 7 hours. And, you know, I figure 8 is a good number. It's arbitrary, sure, but it's a decent target to shoot for. So if I do have to go to an office, to a client's site, and I forget my charger at home, very, very hard to believe that these days that you won't have a charger or a USB-C charger anywhere available. But it's actually happened to me. So I do want a laptop to last me the whole day while I'm at the office, as rare as that might be. Now, of course, these new MacBooks last much longer than that. And it's been pretty nice to have that ability to be able to just leave it in a room for a few days and then come back to it and not have it immediately die on me, which is happened with the Intel MacBooks before, but now with the Apple M1 chips, it doesn't happen anymore. So I kind of want a long-lasting laptop in an Intel machine. Whether I'll get that or not, I don't know. And that's probably a test that I should do. Finally, I need this laptop to run Windows, which most likely I'm just going to order a Windows machine, but I also want to be able to dual boot into Linux. So I can do my ML work on the Linux machine, plus do some tests on the Linux OS as well. All right, so I checked XPS series and I checked the 12th generation. Great. Now I want to do a screen size, and I think 17 inches is too large. It's not going to fit in most backpacks. You're going to need an extra large backpack probably. Well, maybe not. But I'm going to focus on 15 and 13 at this time. I'm going to limit this to i9 K series, which are the highest end ones right now. And it looks like this is offering me XPS 15 only. So does XPS 13 not come with the K series? Let's X that out. Let's check this out a little bit more. How about this Intel Core i9? Yeah, I guess the thermals of the 13-inch probably can't handle the i9 chip because it gets too hot. Oh, let's check out Intel Evo. Let's see what that limits this to. So if I select Evo, it only gives me XPS 13 options and only XPS 13 Plus. Wow, that's kind of interesting. But then I don't get the i9, I get the i7. Let's go with 16 gigs. That's not a terrible price right there. Wow, June 27th? That's pretty far away. But I guess these are new machines that haven't really been in wide circulation yet. So that's probably why. Let's go back and check Core i9 here. Remove 16 gigs. And I have these 4 options. It looks like the XPS 15, touch and no touch. So I don't care too much for a touch screen. Not really my main concern here. What's the difference between these two? So these are both i9 12900 HKs, Windows, RTX 3050, a little lower than I wanted to go in the RTX department. Both have 32 gigs and 1 terabyte. Why is this one $300 more? Maximum performance. Let's compare these two. What am I missing here? DDR5, 32 gigabytes. Ah, the display. This one is a 4K display with touch. And this one is a smaller display. Not exactly 1080, but a little bit bigger than 1080, which is fine. So that display is costing an extra $300. Wow. Everything else is the same. I'm gonna get the cheaper one, of course, because I wanted that monitor anyway. Let's see if I have any customization options. Do I want the XPS 15 or do I want the new XPS 15? Of course I want a new one. Now here you can customize the Intel chip. You can even bring it down a notch to an i7. But I do want the i9, and I get the NVIDIA RTX 3050 Ti, which is the newer models, better than the 3050s. So that's good. I could downgrade the memory apparently to 16 gigabytes. Let's see if that'll save me some money. It saves me 100 something bucks. So let's go with the original 32. I think it's doubling the memory is pretty worth it for 100 bucks. You can't get that with Apple. And here is where you can specify a different monitor. You can even upgrade this model to an OLED touch anti-reflect, which is a darker screen actually at 400 nit instead of the 500 that I'm getting. But you know what? I'm gonna stick with that one. Let's add this to cart. With tax, it's costing me $26.91. And of course, thanks to the channel members who have contributed to this, at least in part, because we're still quite far away from being able to do this on a regular basis. but every little bit helps, so I appreciate your help. Thank you so much to the members. And if you are interested in supporting this channel and becoming a member, there's a join button right there. Thanks so much, but of course, no obligation, not necessary at all. If you subscribe, that would really help me out though. Thank you very much. What do you think it is, Axel? Is that a new computer? The machine is here. I'll be doing more tests on it. Subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss those tests. And I got a haircut. I'll see you later.